No player in a team sport should be going through this. This league has failed her, the officiating is totally biased against her, and her team doesn't lend her enough support. No other team or coach lets their superstar player get mauled on the court. Never happened to Asia, Stewie, or Nafisa. Only Caitlin Clark is not allowed to have any movement on the court. Caitlin Clark telling the ref, "That's just rude, grow up, come here, come here, come here." She also didn't end up getting a tech, which proves it was all the refs' disrespect that had riled her up so much. These WNBA refs are clearly not professional and need to be taken care of.
Usual. She's hot. Breon January having to hold her back. We'll take a timeout.
I mean, yo, she went from 0 to 100 real quick. She was upset, dog. I don't know what that ref said. I don't know what happened. But yeah, she was basically just saying that has nothing to do with it. So I don't know what they were discussing, but yeah, she was basically pissed about the entire situation, man, and was trying to go after the ref and talk to him, but just clearly walked away. Now, like I stated,
the WNBA finds itself once again in the middle of a controversy that reveals everything wrong with the league's priorities as they scramble to find ways to punish their most valuable player while ignoring the real problem that's been staring them in the face all season long.
No, like, this young lady has transcended this damn league to heights they never thought they was going to get to. And for the way they're treating her is despicable. It's despicable and it's disgusting at times, bro. This is bad, man. This is bad, dog. And I feel like somebody need to have that voice for Caitlin. Somebody need to have that voice to call this shit out.
After Caitlin Clark's heated confrontation with referee Michael Price during the July 15th matchup against the Connecticut Sun, the league appears to be conducting a thorough investigation into whether Clark's actions warrant disciplinary action, conveniently overlooking the fact that the referee was clearly the instigator in this entire situation.
Caitlin Clark visibly upset with the referee, screaming on the referee, but gets no technical foul. Do you know what that told me? That told me whatever that referee said was a big no-no. Whatever that referee said, as soon as it left his mouth, he said, damn, I definitely should not have said that.
What happened at TD Garden in Boston wasn't just another routine technical foul situation. This was a calculated attempt by referee Michael Price to get under the skin of the WNBA's brightest star. And when Clark finally had enough and called him out on it, suddenly the league wants to play the victim card and investigate her for threatening an official. The hypocrisy is so thick you could cut it with a knife.
Yeah, just going through it slowly, it looked cordial. Like they are just talking, right? Just simple. And yeah, she's calm. Look at her face. She's very much so calm. Calm. Had a little shock look there. I don't know what he's saying. He points some fingers. That finger point, it gets real. That fingers start pointing. Right, all right. Yeah. Talking. Then she's like, ugh, like what? Trying to make an understanding of what he just said. And I think she was about to say, that has nothing to do with it. But he said something else, then he walked off.
Let's be crystal clear about what actually transpired during that third quarter. Clark was dealing with yet another game where the officiating was questionable at best, and after a controversial out-of-bounds call that was overturned following a Connecticut Sun challenge, she had what appeared to be a routine conversation with Price. But then something shifted. Price said something that made Clark's entire demeanor change from frustrated to absolutely livid. You don't go from having a normal conversation to needing to be physically restrained by assistant coach Breon January unless something inappropriate was said.
Nah, I crossed the line. Because you don't get screamed on by a player like that. You don't get shown up on the court by a player like that and not call a technical foul unless you are in the wrong. The refereeing yesterday, we see Tina Charles hit AB with a stiff forearm. Literally turns around and hits her with a stiff forearm. We see Sophie Cunningham get elbowed in her neck.
The cameras caught Clark yelling, "Are you fucking kidding me?" before being pulled away and then later approaching Price again to tell him, "That's just rude. Grow up. She made a phone gesture and appeared to say, "I will be calling the league on you." Now, instead of investigating what Price might have said to provoke such a reaction from a player who has shown remarkable composure throughout her career, the WNBA is reportedly looking into whether Clark violated league conduct policies by threatening to report the official.
Uh-oh. Wonder what he said. Oh! She was about to run over there.
I'm not a good lip reader.
What did he
I'm
say?
trying. I got it, but I don't want to read card 99.
Huh.
She said basically, "Are you kidding me?" to Michael Price, and that was Breon January, who is.
She said, "That's just rude.
9
Grow up."
years in Indiana.
Oh!
On the staff.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
a live shot now of Caitlin Clark.
What's the issue? What happened?
He's still upset and wants an explanation
Ooh.
from Michael Price.
She's gonna be calling him. He's like, whatever.
If you are enjoying, please subscribe. This is the same league that has allowed Clark to get hammered game after game without adequate protection. The same league that has watched referees make questionable calls against their biggest draw. And the same league that has benefited enormously from the Clark effect. Increased viewership, sold-out arenas, and unprecedented media attention. But when their golden goose finally stands up for herself against officiating that has been consistently problematic, suddenly they want to play disciplinary committee.
Why is it a problem that Caitlin Clark is calling out this referee? God forbid she finally stands up for herself. I mean, these WNBA refs are garbage, and they've been letting her get absolutely mugged on a nightly basis. Matter of fact, one of the players last night on the Connecticut Sun, or whatever they're called, literally targeted her groin. Comes a point in time where it's like, you just can't keep getting bullied. Like, you got to stand up for yourself. WNBA refuses to do anything to protect her. And for all the morons, the low IQ people out there saying like, "Oh, if Angel Reese did this, it'd be an even bigger issue." Yeah, because Angel Reese isn't the one getting bullied and targeted on a nightly basis. Let's use our heads for 1 second instead of being total morons.
The most infuriating part of this entire situation is that anyone with eyes and a functioning brain can see that Clark wouldn't have reacted that way unless Price crossed a line. This is a player who has maintained her professionalism through countless hard fouls, questionable calls, and physical play that would make NBA veterans wince. Clark has been knocked to the ground, poked in the eye, and subjected to defense that borders on assault, and she's handled it with the kind of grace that most seasoned professionals couldn't manage. But apparently, there's a limit to even Clark's patience, and when a referee decides to mouth off to the league's most valuable player, that's when the real problems begin. The fact that the WNBA is more concerned about Clark's response than they are about what caused that response tells you everything you need to know about this league's backwards priorities.
Then she just explodes here, fam. Just gets angry, start going out and saying that has nothing to do with it. Like, oh my goodness. Look at her, man. I don't know what he said, right? But it pissed her off completely. Pissed her off completely, man. And yeah, she goes to the sideline and she's pissed. Now,
Coach Stephanie White has been vocal all season about the treatment Clark receives, and her comments about the officiating have been nothing short of prophetic. White has repeatedly mentioned how Clark keeps getting fouled and how it's an absolute joke the way the referees handle games involving the Fever. After the Sun game, White acknowledged that Clark felt a little something in her groin after what appeared to be another instance of rough play that went uncalled. The pattern is clear. Referees allow opposing players to get physical with Clark. They fail to make obvious calls that would protect her. And then, when she finally voices her frustration, they want to make her the problem. It's like watching someone get bullied all day and then punishing them for finally standing up to the bully. What makes this situation even more ridiculous is that Clark has been approaching the suspension threshold for technical fouls all season. She finished her rookie year with 6 technical fouls, just one away from an automatic 1-game suspension. The league had multiple opportunities to address the root cause of her frustration, the inconsistent and often hostile officiating, but instead chose to let the situation fester until it reached this breaking point.
Her father tried to warn the league. All right, preseason interview, Brazil game, Iowa. He brought up the officiating, and the commissioner ignored it. Continues to ignore it. The officiating's terrible. These players just beat the crap out of... Honestly, it's not just Caitlin Clark. I watched them beat the crap out of other players too. I don't want to hear physical league. I watched a physical NBA in the 80s and the 90s, the early 2000s. This is different, folks. It is.
The investigation into Clark's actions is particularly galling when you consider that the WNBA has shown no similar urgency in addressing the officiating problems that have plagued the league all season. Multiple games have featured controversial calls, players have been subjected to physical play that goes uncalled, and coaches have been forced to publicly criticize referees just to get their attention. But when the league's biggest star finally calls out a referee for inappropriate behavior, suddenly they spring into action. This is the same league that admitted officials lost control during previous Fever Sun matchups, the same league that has upgraded fouls after games because the officials missed obvious calls in real time, and the same league that has allowed the physical treatment of Clark to become a running storyline throughout the season. But when she threatens to report a referee for crossing a line, that's when they decide to take a stand. The absurdity reaches new heights when you consider that Clark's threat to call the league on Price is exactly what any professional should do when an official behaves inappropriately. If a referee says something out of line, the proper response is to report it through official channels. But the WNBA seems to view this as some sort of threat against their authority rather than a player following proper procedures to address misconduct.
You can only suppress the frustration for so long. You can maintain your composure for a while, but eventually, the suppressed anger is going to surface. For the most part, Caitlin Clark has been able to maintain her composure while dealing with an unbelievable amount of bullshit. Constant criticism from the mainstream media, criticism from pretend analysts like Monica McDougal, who wasn't qualified to play in the WNBA. Girl, who is this white girl? She's trying to take over our league. Why are all these white people watching pretend basketball? This league belongs to us. There's no room for the others. For 2 years, Caitlin Clark has dealt with overly physical defense from opposing players. When Caitlin Clark drives the lane, I don't know if her opponent is playing defense.
Meanwhile, the league continues to ignore the elephant in the room. Their officiating is terrible, and it's getting worse. Game after game, we see calls that leave players, coaches, and fans scratching their heads. The inconsistency is so bad that it's affecting the quality of play and the enjoyment of the game. But instead of addressing these systematic issues, the WNBA wants to focus on punishing the player who had the audacity to call attention to the problem. The timing of this investigation is particularly suspect. Clark is set to participate in the All-Star Game in Indianapolis, an event that the WNBA has been heavily promoting precisely because of her involvement.
The referees yesterday, they were in a league of their own in terms of incompetence. The last time we saw the Connecticut Sun, you would think that we would have a crew that would set the tone saying, hey, all of this dirty play is not flying today. But when you're in the WNBA and you have not one, not two, but 3 incompetent officials all at one time, well, beggars can't be choosers.
The league has built their entire All-Star Weekend marketing campaign around Clark's participation, and now they're threatening to undermine their own event by pursuing disciplinary action against their biggest draw. This is the same pattern we've seen throughout Clark's professional career. The league benefits enormously from her presence while simultaneously failing to protect her from the consequences of that attention. Every game she plays generates massive television ratings, every arena she visits sells out, and every highlight she creates goes viral. But when the pressure and scrutiny that comes with being the face of the league finally gets to her, the WNBA's response is to investigate whether she's the problem.
Well, Kathy Engelbert and the WNBA, well, they have effed around, and now they're about to find out. The WNBA All-Star Game is, of course, in Indianapolis, the home of the Indiana Fever, the home of Caitlin Clark. And now it looks like Caitlin Clark, most likely, I can't imagine that Caitlin Clark will be participating in the three-point contest or the All-Star Game.
The most telling aspect of this entire situation is that Clark managed to avoid receiving a technical foul during the incident with Price. Despite being visibly upset, despite having to be physically restrained, and despite making it clear that she intended to report the official, the referees on the court chose not to assess her a technical. This suggests that even they recognized that Price had crossed a line and that Clark's reaction was justified. But now the league office, removed from the heat of the moment and apparently more concerned with protecting their officials than their players, wants to retroactively punish Clark for standing up for herself. It's a perfect example of how the WNBA's priorities are completely backwards. The investigation into Clark's actions sends a chilling message to every player in the league. No matter how badly you're treated, no matter how obvious the officiating problems become, and no matter how much revenue you generate for the league, you're expected to suffer in silence. The moment you stand up for yourself, you become the problem. This is particularly troubling given Clark's history of technical fouls. She's already approaching the suspension threshold, and the league's investigation suggests they're looking for ways to add to her total. It's almost as if they want to find a reason to suspend their most valuable player, despite the fact that such a suspension would hurt the league far more than it would hurt Clark.
Help me understand this league, bro. Somebody said in all my years, in all my damn years, man. This, my friends. How is this cool, bro? Like, damn. Look at this. She right there. This, oh my God. Shout out to Andy, bro. This is the storyline, bro. This is what we're seeing.
The broader implications of this investigation extend far beyond one player or one incident. The WNBA is essentially telling the world that they value the fragile egos of their officials more than the well-being of their players. They're saying that inappropriate behavior by referees is acceptable, but calling out that behavior is not. They're demonstrating that even when you're the face of the league, even when you're responsible for unprecedented growth in viewership and attendance, you're still expected to accept substandard treatment without complaint. The league's response to this situation will be a defining moment for the WNBA. They can continue down the path of protecting incompetent officials while punishing players who speak out, or they can finally address the real problems that have been festering all season. They can keep trying to find ways to punish Caitlin Clark for being too successful and too outspoken, or they can recognize that their biggest star deserves better treatment than she's been receiving. Unfortunately, based on their track record, the WNBA seems determined to choose the path that serves no one except the officials who have been failing to do their jobs properly. They're more interested in maintaining the illusion of authority than they are in addressing the systematic problems that are undermining the quality of their product.
Caitlin Clark has dealt with overly physical defense from opposing players. When Caitlin Clark drives the lane, I don't know if her opponent is playing defense or attempting the Heimlich maneuver. But in the midst of the eye pokes and bear hugs, Caitlin Clark never seems to make it to the free throw line. When she has the ball, WNBA officials, they seem to be blinded by the radiance of the Great White Hope. Last night, Caitlin Clark finally decided that enough is enough. The suppressed anger finally surfaced as she threatened to get a WNBA official fired.
The investigation into Caitlin Clark's actions against the Sun represents everything wrong with the WNBA's approach to player relations, officiating, and league management. Instead of addressing the root causes of player frustration, they're focused on punishing the symptoms. Instead of protecting their most valuable asset, they're looking for ways to discipline her. Instead of improving the quality of officiating, they're circling the wagons to protect referees who have repeatedly demonstrated their incompetence. If the WNBA wants to continue growing and building on the success that players like Clark have brought to the league, they need to get their priorities straight. They need to start protecting their stars instead of punishing them. They need to address officiating problems instead of ignoring them. And they need to recognize that their biggest asset is also their most important voice for change. The league's handling of this situation will determine whether they continue to benefit from the Clark effect or whether they squander the opportunity that her presence has created. Right now, it looks like they're choosing to squander it, and that's an absolute tragedy for women's basketball.